Most of us remember Rapunzel as a fairy tale rescue, a braid dangling from a sunlit tower, a kiss at the end. You were told romance, a happy ending. But the real origins of this story are far darker. In the earliest versions, desire leads to hidden pregnancy, exile, and even blinding. In 1812, the Brothers Grimm published their first edition of Kinder- und Hausmärchen, and tucked inside was a version of Rapunzel that left nothing to the imagination. The evidence sits in black ink, crisp and unambiguous. Rapunzel's guardian discovers the secret not by magic or suspicion, but by the girl's own body turning against her. The German line reads, "Meine Kleider werden mir allerdings enger und enger, und sie wollen gar nicht mehr zu." In plain English, my clothes are getting tighter and tighter and they no longer fit. This is not a hint. It is a pregnancy, written into the text as the undeniable proof of secret visits. The moment is clinical, almost cold. There is no room for misunderstanding. The fairy tale logic is simple. Desire leaves evidence, and evidence demands punishment. This is the uncut 1812 page, preserved in facsimile, the typeface still sharp after 2 centuries. The fairy, later called a sorceress, responds with swift cruelty. In this first edition, the trigger is unmistakable. The body tells the truth. Wilhelm Grimm would not leave it that way. By the time the 7th edition appeared in 1857, the story had changed. The pregnancy-coded line was gone, deleted without apology. In its place, a vague exchange. Rapunzel weeps, and the guardian grows suspicious for reasons never fully explained. The physical evidence is erased. The mechanism of discovery becomes a slip of the tongue or a moment of carelessness, no longer tied to visible consequences on Rapunzel's body. This is the documentary's smoking gun. The darkness was not added by later interpreters or modern critics. It was there on the page, and then it was deliberately removed. The editorial hand is visible in every omission. The 1812 edition lays out the punishment logic in plain view. Later versions retreat, softening the blow, hiding the proof. What survives in most retellings is the sanitized shell. The original text still holds the evidence of what the Grimms were willing to say before the world demanded a cleaner story. Let down your hair, a romantic rescue, a happy ending. This is the pop memory most of us carry, hair and happily ever after. You were told it is romance. The earliest versions read like consequences. The Grimms changed the story. The Brothers Grimm published Rapunzel in 1812, and in later editions they revised and softened several elements. The smoking gun is in the first edition. The guardian discovers the prince's visits through a pregnancy-coded reveal. Rapunzel's clothes become too tight, a clue that she is pregnant. Later tellings quietly remove that proof. Here is the clean skeleton you think you know. A pregnant mother craves rampion from a walled garden. Her husband steals the plant at night, and he is caught by the garden's owner. The owner does not call the law. Instead, she bargains. The price for the theft is the unborn child. The father agrees in terror. The baby is taken at birth and named after the plant that caused the debt. Rapunzel is raised by her captor and cut off from the world. When she turns 12, she is locked in a tower with no door and only one high window. The tower is not only a prison, it is a guarantee that no one can reach her. The only way up is by her hair, thrown out the window when her guardian calls. Years pass in silence. One day a prince rides through the forest and hears Rapunzel singing. He hides and watches the ritual, the call, the hair, the climb. When the guardian leaves, he says the words the guardian used. "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." The hair falls. The prince climbs up. What follows are secret visits, night after night. The prince and Rapunzel talk, then grow close. He promises to marry her. Each visit is a risk, but the tower's walls are supposed to make secrecy absolute. Still, the meetings continue, hidden from the world. This is not a random fairy tale setup. Every step is a trade, a lock, or a test. The mother's craving becomes a theft. The theft becomes a bargain. The bargain becomes captivity. The captivity invites a visitor. The visitor makes a promise. The promise leads to secret meetings. Each action tightens the chain of control, and Rapunzel's fate is set in motion long before she ever lets down her hair. The first dark core is premarital pregnancy. The relationship is not framed as a sanctioned marriage. In older moral storytelling, pregnancy is evidence. It proves a secret and it triggers punishment. That is why the pregnancy matter is central, not incidental. Later retellings keep the romance but try to hide the proof. When the guardian realizes what has happened, the punishment is exile. Rapunzel is cast out into a wilderness and abandoned. While exiled, she gives birth to twins, a brutal survival beat that most modern tellings rush past. The tower is captivity, but the wilderness is abandonment, and that is the story's emotional center. The prince returns, and he is tricked. He falls into thorns, and the thorns poke out his eyes. The text describes his eyes being destroyed by the thorns. The blinding is not random gore. It is symbolic punishment. After hidden desire and secrecy, the story literally takes away sight. This is the function of blinding. Rapunzel did not begin with the Grimms. The tale is a palimpsest. An Italian variant, Petronella by Basile in the 1630s, is an early tower story. A French version, Personette by Delaforce in the 1690s, already includes out-of-wedlock pregnancy, blinding, twins, and tears that later restore sight. The dark elements accumulate across countries and centuries. The story was not born clean. Now let us debunk the myths you probably believe. Myth 1. Rapunzel is just romance and hair. Counter. The plot hinges on pregnancy, exile, and blinding. Those are core events, not optional details. Myth 2. The Grimms wrote it for children the first time. Counter. The Grimm editions evolved, and later versions removed objectionable details, including the pregnancy clue. Why does this story survive? Because it presses 3 primal fears. Desire creates consequences. Pregnancy becomes visible proof. Safety can be revoked instantly. Banishment into the wilderness. Punishment is total and disproportionate. Blinding and years of wandering. The tower is not the darkest part. The darkest part is what happens after the secret becomes visible. Long before the Brothers Grimm put pen to paper, the girl in a tower story had already taken root in European literature. In the 1630s, Giambattista Basile published the Pentamerone in Naples. Among its tales was Petronella, the earliest known maiden in the tower narrative. There, a mother steals parsley from an ogress's garden and, when caught, bargains away her own daughter, Pascadozzia, later named Petronella. At age 7, the girl is taken and imprisoned in a tower. The motifs are clear: a parent's desperate bargain, a child's abduction, and a tower used as both punishment and protection. Basile's tale leans on magic, 3 enchanted acorns, animal helpers, and a final escape that depends on cunning and luck. Survival is possible, but the punishment is real. By the late 1690s, the tale had crossed borders and languages. Charlotte Rose de Caumont de la Force published Personette in 1698. Her version is the direct ancestor of Rapunzel. De la Force gathers the scattered shadows into a single, unflinching thread. The guardian is no longer an ogress, but a fairy, and the plant becomes Rampion. Personette's mother's craving sets the bargain in motion. Personette's secret romance with a prince leads to an out-of-wedlock pregnancy, discovered when her clothes no longer fit. The fairy's response is exile, sending Personette into the wilderness, where she gives birth to twins. The prince, tricked by the fairy, falls from the tower and is blinded by thorns. Years pass before the lovers are reunited, and his sight is restored by Personette's tears. Every element that would define the Grimm version is already in De la Force's text. Pregnancy as proof, exile as punishment, twins born in hardship, and blinding as retribution. These are not later embellishments. They are core features present more than a century before the Grimm's publication in 1812. Scholars classify these tales under ATU 310, The Maiden in the Tower, tracing a line from Basile's Italian ogress to Della Force's French fairy, and finally to the German Rapunzel. The darkness in the story is not a modern reinterpretation. It is a palimpsest across countries and centuries, each version adding details, but never erasing the structure of bargains, captivity, and visible consequence. Pregnancy in the earliest Rapunzel tales is not a subplot. It is the story's engine. Across 17th century, 18th century, and 19th century Europe, the rules of moral storytelling were blunt. Secrets were not revealed by rumor or accident. They became visible, written on the body itself. In that world, a swelling belly is not a matter of speculation. It is the proof that cannot be denied or explained away. Rapunzel's changing figure is not just a detail. It is the irrefutable evidence that secret meetings have crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. This logic runs through the lineage of the tale. In Charlotte Rose de la Force's Personette, published in 1698, the pregnancy is the fuse that ignites everything that follows. The Guardian does not need to spy or interrogate. She sees the evidence in Personette's body, and that is enough. The same mechanism appears in the Grimm's 1812 edition, where Rapunzel's clothes grow tight. In both cases, pregnancy acts as a kind of forensic device, a physical transformation that exposes the hidden truth. The story's moral universe is built on the idea that desire leaves a mark that no one can conceal. For the genre, this is not just narrative convenience. It is a kind of public accounting. In early modern Europe, a child born outside marriage was a social sentence, a visible sign of broken rules. Fairy tales of the period used pregnancy as the ultimate evidence, not a rumor, not an accusation, but the body itself, silent and undeniable. The punishment that follows is not arbitrary. It is triggered by the visible proof, as if the story itself demands retribution for the secret made flesh. Later retellings tried to erase this mechanism. Editors and publishers, facing the anxieties of a changing audience, cut or softened the lines that made pregnancy explicit. The discovery becomes a slip of the tongue, a careless word, or a suspicious tear. The body's evidence is replaced by something that can be overlooked or explained away. But the original tales do not flinch. Rapunzel is not just a character, she is evidence. Her body is the text, and the punishment is written in what cannot be hidden. The tower was never meant to be a shelter. When the Guardian discovers Rapunzel's secret, the punishment is not more confinement, but total removal. Rapunzel is led out of the only world she has ever known and abandoned in a wilderness with nothing but the clothes on her back. The text does not soften the blow. She is cast out, alone and pregnant, left to survive in a place without walls, food, or comfort. There is no path, no protection, and no hope of rescue. The story lingers on her suffering. She wanders, hungry and exposed, with no one to turn to. In this wasteland, Rapunzel gives birth to twins. There is no midwife, no shelter, no family. The children arrive into scarcity, their first breaths drawn in a world that has already rejected them. The tale makes no mention of kindness or aid. Survival itself becomes the only victory. The twins are not just a detail, they are the living evidence of everything that happened in the tower, and now they share in the cost of their mother's punishment. Exile in the wilderness is not a pause in the story, but its bleakest chapter. The tower was a cage, but at least it had walls. The wilderness is a void, a place where Rapunzel's suffering is invisible to the world. The fairy tale does not offer comfort. Abandonment replaces captivity, and the next generation is born into hardship. In this space, every consequence becomes real, and every hope is forced to wait. The prince's punishment arrives with a precision that feels almost ritual. After Rapunzel's exile, he returns to the tower, unaware that anything has changed. He calls out the familiar words, expecting her voice and her hair, but instead finds the severed braid lowered by the sorceress. The trap is set. When he climbs, he is met not by love, but by the woman who orchestrated everything. Despair takes over. The prince throws himself from the tower's height. The ground below is not soft earth, but a thicket of thorns. The text is unflinching. The thorns destroy his eyes, leaving him blind. There is no gentle phrasing. The story insists on the physical cost. His vision is taken and his world is reduced to darkness. For years he wanders, unable to see, surviving on roots and wild plants, guided only by the memory of Rapunzel's voice. The blinding is not a random act of violence. In the logic of the tale, it is a punishment that fits the secrecy of his desire. The eyes that once sought hidden beauty are now gone. The sense that led him to Rapunzel erased. His suffering is not brief. The story draws out his wandering, his weeping, his hunger. Only after this long, sightless journey does the possibility of reunion appear. The fairy tale does not offer quick forgiveness. Instead, it demands a toll, a visible, lasting mark carried for years. In this story, love's transgression is answered with darkness, and every secret has its price. The story most people remember is a fairy tale built for comfort. A girl with impossibly long hair waits in a tower, a prince climbs up, and love wins. That is the version found in picture books, musicals, and animated films. The hair is magic, the villain is simple, and the ending is bright. But that memory is the result of decades of editing, not just by the Grimms, but by every publisher and studio that followed. Each new adaptation trims away the details that do not fit a bedtime story. There is no mention of exile, no hint of a child born in the wild, no prince wandering blind and broken. Modern retellings turn the tower into a quirky setting and the hair into a superpower. The pain and punishment at the heart of the original are replaced with adventure and wish fulfillment. Even the guardians change, witches become comic, mothers become misunderstood, and the consequences fade into background noise. The darkest parts are scrubbed out until all that is left is the rescue and the romance. This is not just nostalgia at work. It is a deliberate act of erasure. Publishers and filmmakers aiming for family audiences cut away the evidence of what the story once demanded, that every secret carried a cost, and every cost left a scar. The clean version is easier to sell, but it is not the story that survived for centuries. The real Rapunzel is a story of punishment, not just escape. To remember only the hair is to forget why she was locked away in the first place. Fairy tales still shape what we teach about risk, punishment, and desire, often by hiding what once was obvious. As new generations embrace sanitized versions, the original warnings linger beneath each retelling. The tower's walls may be gone, but the cost of breaking rules and the urge to hide the evidence remains. The real story always waits for someone willing to look closer. Share your thoughts below.